computational action, which was an idea that with Mike Tissenbaum, we coined that term, which is not brand new concepts, but it's a new articulation of things that we've known and sort of a mashup of things that in a novel way that have been bumping around in the field of computer science education for a while.
So what is it? I'm not familiar with the term.
Computational action, the gist of it is that students shouldn't be learning programming for the sense of sake of programming, that we want to engage students in their learning. We want to build their conception of themselves as people who can engage in the business of computing, of computer science. And one way to do that we posit is a strong engaging factor is getting them to work on real projects, real world. So it draws from project-based learning, and that we don't necessarily even, except at the sort of introductory level, specify what tools they have to use. We more support them in picking up the tools and the concepts they need to complete the project that they've co-designed or designed for themselves to do.
Okay.
It draws some pieces from service learning in that projects are often somehow pro-social and for the benefit of their school or other communities, which is known to be important in building equity, that traditionally underrepresented groups, whether it be people of color or young women, we know, engage more and participate more when they're doing projects and work that is beneficial to their communities, as opposed to just learning a programming language in the abstract.
What about beneficial to the individual? So like self-expression, etc.
There's a lot of value there. That's not necessarily what we set forth in the idea of computational action, but it's a very good point that self-expression and creativity are, very meaningful to students. I do think that there's a shade there that could be like a shade of meaning that could be drawn there, that I think there's something very important about impact with other people. Self-expression can certainly engage with other people. You can make art that is important to you, that is moving to other people, but you can also have self-expression for your own sake, which is no less valid, but doesn't necessarily engage with the other people around you.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea, and the framing of it as computational action. I do think that there's like this tendency in school at large, not just in like computer science class or whatever, but in general. Most of my schooling experience was schooling for the sake of schooling, and there was like no application that had any real world benefit, both in terms of the communities I lived in or with myself as an individual to like even express myself. So it's nice to hear somebody who also like thinks schooling should be for doing something, like to improve or to better a community or to better understand a community or even oneself.
I really do like that question that you asked about self-expression. That really is powerful, and I'll definitely think about that and incorporate that into my work. And you're absolutely right that it is not at all endemic to computer science education. That the classic joke for math is, when are we ever going to use this? A teacher
Right.
stutters and doesn't know what to say, because they say, oh, well, you'll need this in the future. And that's great and all, but that is sort of the marshmallow test, which is the classic,
Yeah.
if you don't eat this marshmallow now, you can have 2 marshmallows later.
Yep.
And it's apparently supposed to be predictive of future success in life, but apparently that's been debunked even. So to expect that kind of self-regulation and patience on the part of a learner is an awful lot to expect of young people, of any people, let alone young people. We don't see that in adult education, in adult learning. It's very much the case that most education that happens and learning that happens outside of, formal schooling and in the workplace is just-in-time learning, or taking a course because you're starting a new role and you need to have these skills. So it's much more practical, and yet we don't do that for younger learners.
Yeah, which is a shame, especially with the young kids. Like you can do so many cool things, but then over time it becomes like